Hey guys, Dave and Cali. Had to show you this real quick. This was live just a few minutes ago where one of the leaders of the People's Convoy got together with Ted Cruz and a couple other dignitaries. I didn't see who all was in the room, but I just thought I'd better get this out to you guys really fast. Actually discuss what the People's Convoy was all about and how it's not a truck driver deal, but it's the people's deal. So anyway, check it out. Watch this clip, and we'll see you on the next one. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.
30 miles long coming across their interstate. When we convoy, we grow and we shrink, and we grow and we shrink because all across the country, people want to participate in it, but they do not.
So I take it that means there are a bunch of vehicles that are not trucks then.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the other thing I wanted to specify is that this isn't just a truck convoy. This is truly the People's Convoy. We have folks here that are in RVs, motorhomes, motorcycles, rode all the way from California to here on motorcycles to join us. We got folks in cars. They're sleeping in their car every night. They're sleeping in tents outside of their car, outside of the motorhome. I seen a guy last night sleeping on his motorcycle with a tarp up over him. Wow. Because of the rain. Truly the People's Convoy. It's not a truckers' convoy. And even though the truckers might have been the one to lead the charge or step up initially, we're not even doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our families. We're doing it for our communities, and we're doing it for the people of the United States. And truthfully, we're doing it for people around the world. Not only is this a violation of our constitutional rights, but this is a violation of your God-given rights. You should never be mandated to put such a thing in your body. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not the one to tell you whether it's good or not. That's what we're there for. But I do know, as a person that served in the Army, and as a person that cares deeply about my country, and that cares about my community and my family and my fellow drivers and my fellow Americans, that this is wrong, and I can see that without having to worry about the science. The People's Convoy has come together and created a community. We are a massive community, and I would encourage any senator, congressman or woman, any governor, mayor, city council members, school board members, to come out and truly see what this community is. As we came across the country, we've had millions of people. I thought thousands. But when you include all the different convoys that have converged into one, it equals to be millions of people across the country that lined the highways and stood on overpasses and freeways. We've had attorney generals across the country wanting to meet us on these bridge rallies that they had. We didn't plan that. That wasn't part of our planning. That's the communities doing it themselves, knowing that we're coming through and showing that support. I don't think I've ever in my lifetime, and according to my mother, even in her lifetime, has she ever seen such a movement like this coming across the country. This isn't a right issue or a left issue. This is an American issue. It's time that we put the divide to the side. Everybody can go back to hating each other if that's what they want to do when we get on the other side of this. But it's time that we take a step back and think. Use our brains. Use our hearts. Don't worry about your politics or your lobbyists or your special interest groups. Just care about the people. Something I've said in moving across this country was that it's time to remind the United States government, and truly governments around the world, that they work for us.
Amen.
That's all I'm going to leave it at, because it's not my story to tell. It's the people of the convoy story to tell.
I will say, in Wisconsin, I'm sensing that political realignment. People showing up, fighting for freedom. Democrat, Republican, doesn't make any difference. They're concerned about what has happened to their children, what's happened to their lives, what's happened to their freedom. And I agree with you. I think this is a unique moment. That maybe we can accomplish that goal that President Biden stated was his #1 goal, to unify and heal this nation. He's done the exact opposite. Maybe this movement can work toward that goal, which is a worthy goal.
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
The Senate passed, and I know he's got the list of who voted what, but they passed to end the state of emergency by 1 vote, and there were several that didn't bother to vote. To me, that's just as bad as voting no on this, regardless of party. It's just as bad as voting no. It maybe goes to the House. The president already came out and said he would veto it.
Yeah.
It went to his desk. is there some way of appealing to House members to, one, let it hit the floor, two, to put political differences to the side for this, to be bipartisan? He touched on all the legal stuff that I'm just not your guy for. I'm not. I'm just a voice in America, as blue-collar worker as you get.
Look, the challenge is, this is where you guys, your voice is so important. Because you've got to get some people willing to cross party lines and do the right thing. As you noted, we had the vote to end the state of emergency. That was the right thing to do. The week before, we had two different votes. We had our vote on an amendment that Mike Lee and I introduced to end all of the Biden vaccine mandates. So to end the mandate for active duty military, to end the mandate for federal employees, to end the mandate for federal contractors, and to end the mandate, the OSHA mandate that the Supreme Court struck down for private employers. And we voted on that. And then we had a separate vote on an amendment I introduced to cut off all federal funds to any governmental entity that mandated vaccines for kids. The only thing I can think of worse than the government trying to force you to make healthcare decisions is the government trying to force your kids to make healthcare decisions without the parents making the decision. I think that's fundamentally wrong. If you got a 5-year-old, it's no politician's business whether or not they choose to get this COVID vaccine. On both of those amendments, number one, every single Democrat in the Senate voted no. All of them. Number two, as you noted, we would have won, except Republicans weren't there. 4 Republicans were missing, and I have no idea why.
It's just as bad as voting no.
I was glad I didn't have a camera in my face at that moment, because I would have said some things that my mother wouldn't have approved of. But I thought it was ridiculous that we didn't show up and stand up and do the right thing. In terms of the House, look, to move anything to the floor of the House takes Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker. What you've got to have is you've got to have some Democrats in the House willing to break ranks. If it's a straight party line vote, then Pelosi and the Democrats will just refuse to vote on it. So there've got to be some Democrats in the House, and there are a bunch of Democrats in districts across the country, particularly districts that Trump carries, who are scared out of their minds and know they're getting ready to lose the House, who, if they had any sense, would say we ought to vote on this. Now, whether they do or not, whether they have the courage to stand up to Pelosi, that's really where y'all come in, because it's the only thing that's going to infuse courage is if they realize they're losing their jobs if they don't discover some courage. Because they're not going to get it magically just waking up one morning. It's going to take, they've got to be more scared of the voters than they are of Nancy Pelosi. Right now, they're listening to party bosses. Until that changes, the House is not going to vote on this.
Let me answer it this way. What crisis that America's faced did we not come together as a people? Whether it's a national crisis like 9/11, whether it's a hurricane in Florida where truckers haul down construction material and Americans show up to help rebuild, or tornadoes in the Midwest, or fires in the West. I mean, we always come together in the midst of tragedy, don't we? But not during the pandemic.
No.
The pandemic was politicized almost from the start.
Yep.
We ignored, we sabotaged early treatment. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives that didn't have to lose their lives because we just sabotaged early treatment because I guess the President of the United States at the time advocated for it. So there's something else going on here. And as Ted just described, COVID has become completely partisan in the political realm. But again, what gives me hope is what you're doing, what I'm sensing in Wisconsin, quite honestly, what I'm sensing with our January 24th event, COVID-19, a second opinion that both Pierre and Paul attended. There needs to be an awakening.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be an awakening. But unfortunately, right now it's politicized, but it's movements like yours. It's ordinary Americans that need to have their eyes opened and understand there's something going on here.
The awakening's happening right now.
Yeah,
The awakening is circling the Beltway as we're talking to you right now. That convoy is rolling 2 wide is probably 10 miles long today. The awakening's here.
And what I wanted to say, Senator Cruz and Senator Johnson, thank you very much for allowing us, and the leadership of Brian. Here's the
Well, I noticed there at the end, even Cruz and them admitted that the whole pandemic thing was politicized. And because the president at the time, and we all know who that was, he encouraged early treatment. However, we got a backlash of fight against that merely because that particular president encouraged it. And so we were denied it. Anyway, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. I know I said it earlier. We'll talk to you later.